Pat Tokuyama here. Today what we're going to be doing is making taiyaki. Taiyaki is literally sea bream, translated from Japanese, grilled sea bream, but we're not actually going to be grilling any real fish. We're going to be making the shape of a fish using a few of the ingredients that I have here on my counter. If we haven't met before, my name is Pat Tokuyama. I'm the creator of All Day I Eat Like a Shark, where I help people learn how to make Japanese food. Consider subscribing to see more Japanese cooking videos like this one today. So today what we're going to be doing is continuing our theme of omatsuri, or festival in Japanese, and this is another one of the Japanese foods that you might encounter at your next Japanese festival. So taiyaki is a very sweet dish, or I guess food. Usually you're going to be filling it with some sweet red bean paste or white bean paste or other types of fillings, depending on whoever is making it, of course. And it makes for a very nice, crunchy, and slightly sweet snack or dessert, if you want to call it that. So here are the ingredients for the taiyaki, which we're going to be doing two ways. So we're going to be using just a little bit of salt here on the bottom left. We have some flax egg. We're going to be using about 3 tablespoons, or the equivalent of 1 egg. Some koshian, which is red bean paste. We have about a half teaspoon of matcha powder right there. We're going to use about a tablespoon of sugar, about a teaspoon of baking powder. We'll drink some tea while we're cooking the taiyaki or baking it. Here we have about 1/3 of a cup of soy milk. We're also going to be using 1/3 of a cup of water. And then here we have about 1 cup, or about 140 grams of cake flour, which we are going to sift first and then whisk everything together. So first thing that we're going to be doing to start we're going to be sifting our flour. So this is cake flour. It's about 140 grams. We're going to sift it to make sure that there's no clumps, and then we're going to combine it with some salt, just a pinch. And it's just, whoa! These are very long sleeves, not used to them. So there was a teaspoon of baking powder. We're going to put in about a tablespoon of sugar and a dash of salt. And we're going to whisk everything together after I don't know why I put it into the, whatchamacallit, my wire mesh strainer. We did not need to sift the sugar and the baking powder, but it's not going to hurt. And then we're going to be doing about a half batch without any matcha powder and the other batch with matcha powder to make 2 different variations. So if you've ever made taiyaki before, I'd be curious what you put in it, and if you have any tips, let us know in the comments below, like right now. And if you've never made taiyaki before, make sure to watch this video through to the end to hear a few of my tips for making it a delicious success the first time around. All right, so I think we got all of our flour sifted. That was the first tip. Make sure to sift your flour. Okay. And now what we're going to be doing is adding the soy milk here. This is about 1/3 of a cup. We're also going to be adding about 1/3 of a cup of water. Just go ahead and do that right now. And then for the egg, we're not using an egg. We're going to be using a flax egg, roughly about 3 tablespoons worth, which is going to be equivalent to 1 egg. So if you've never used flax egg before in your baking, this could be a good opportunity for you to try. All right, so there's that. As far as the kiji, or the batter, that is essentially going to be it. We're going to be doing a little bit of matcha powder after we do a half batch. So tip number 2 is to make sure you whisk everything thoroughly. You don't want any clumps of flour in your batter. And then for the actual assembly, what we're going to be doing is using about a tablespoon of batter. We're going to put it onto my taiyaki pan here. This is a very specialized device, and you can see it makes the shape just like tai, which is the type of fish that we're going to be making a shape of. So we're gonna be doing one side and then we're gonna flip it and then do the other side. So there's a bunch of these on Amazon. I'll link this one, the one that I got, in the description below. You probably want one that has at least wood or plastic here so that you don't burn yourself, or if you don't care, you can also use your oven mitts and do that as well. So anyways, so we're gonna be doing this in 2 increments. And the first is gonna be about a tablespoon of kiji or batter per side. So you can just do some assembly right here. Number 2 is to use some sort of oil cooking spray where you can brush it on so that way it doesn't stick. Even though this is a non-stick coating, cooking spray always helps a little bit. So put some on here. All right. And just put about a tablespoon. Try to evenly spread it around. It's gonna take some practice if you've never done it before. And then for the filling, we're just gonna be using koshian, or crushed sweet azuki, which is sweet red bean. It's been cooked with sugar. And if it's not perfect, don't worry. If there's overflow, don't worry as well. You can just cut it off once you're done cooking with it, or once it's done being grilled or baked. So this is about a teaspoon and a half. Not a teaspoon, tablespoon and a half roughly. So tip number 3 is to use low heat. So go low and slow. So I'm gonna be using low heat right there. You're gonna be about 3 to 4 minutes max per side. So you're gonna do the bottom side. You can check on it, see how it's doing. It's gonna be nice and puffy. And when you're ready to put in the filling, and then flip it. So once the first side has cooked, what you're gonna be doing is putting on a little bit of the filling. We'll be doing about a tablespoon, along with another tablespoon of the kiji or batter. Bang, bing, bing, bing. If only these were translucent, then you can actually see how far they have to go to cook, but I don't think they make anything like that. I think it would have to be made of glass. So you can hear it sizzling. Do you hear that? I hear it. I might have to turn up the volume, get close. Hear it? Hikoeru no ka? I don't know how long that's been, but I'm gonna give it another minute or so and then we can take a peek to see how it's doing. Should look nice and puffy, just like your pancakes would, if you've ever made pancakes. And in the meantime, I guess we could get some of this koshian ready. Very easy to make, but doesn't get any easier than buying it. Sometimes that's what I do, instead of making it from scratch. All right, so here is this little bit, and then we want to get some of this ready for the next batch. And I'm going to set this on here because we're going to be making some matcha ones as well. Wah! So there's how it looks so far. Okay, and we're just going to put some of this in here in the middle. This will be a nice little sweet surprise for whoever's eating this, whether or not they've eaten it before or not. So there's about a tablespoon. Ah, lost some on the stove. Okay. And try to make sure that it's sort of in the center of the fish as much as possible, because you don't want it leaking out. At least I don't like it leaking out. And just like other types of matsuri foods that we have been exploring together, if you've ever going to be going to a festival in Japan, one of the ways that you know that they are making this is because of the scent or the smell. It smells sweet. So there's that, and then we're just going to go ahead and put in another tablespoon on top. Try to make sure most of the red bean is covered, and then we're going to flip it. It's okay if there's a little bit of red being showing, but try to cover most of it if you can to get that full shape. So at least about a tablespoon and a half, just like we did for the first side. There's that. Okay, and then I'm gonna flip it. And we're just gonna do a few more minutes on that side. And in the meantime, I'm gonna go ahead and do the next batch as matcha. Matcha powder, you can also, make sure to do this as well. Sift the matcha so that you don't get any clumps. As you know, matcha tends to clump. Okay, all right, so there's that. It smells delicious. 美味しそう。いい匂いしてるね. That means it smells good. Okay, so here is the matcha version. And if you don't like matcha, or you don't have matcha, you can also use hojicha, which is roasted green tea, as an alternative or a different variation. So tip number 4, I think, is where we're at, was to consider making a batch of these and freezing them. So if you do that, they keep pretty well. I recommend eating them within about a month or so. You can take them straight out of the freezer, microwave them for about 20 to 30 seconds, and then throw them in the toaster to get that crispy texture. Kari kari. So I think it's been a little bit over. Okay. So here's the first batch. I think they're just about brown on the bottom side. Take a peek under there using my wahashi. Make sure that it's browned. Yep. Okay, so here's our first little batch. And I'm gonna go ahead and take this off. The heat, you can see how it's starting to brown. This one almost looks like it has a gill. All right, so here is the second batch. Gonna go ahead and put some more cooking oil on here. Be a little bit more generous with the batter this time. Just making sure all of the edges are getting hit to make it a complete fish shape, which we kind of didn't do there the first time. So the 5th tip that I was going to share with you guys today is to use different ingredients for the sweetener. So koshian is what we're using today, but you can use a variety of different things. You can use sweet white bean. You can also use whipped cream. You can use fruit. You can even put some savory things in here, like yakisoba. You know that there's a cafe in Tokyo that does that. So if you want to change things up with a little bit of sweet and salty, and you're into that kind of thing, trying different things out, that could be another suggestion for you. Kurogoma, or black sesame seeds, is another way that you can change things up. 6th tip is going to be to try to go easy on the sugar. You can make these as sweet as you like, of course, but I prefer things not too sweet, especially when I'm making them at home myself. All right, probably another minute there. It's going sizzle, sizzle, sizzle. It's leaking just a little bit. A few more seconds there, and these will be just about ready to eat. If you're careful, you can use a knife to cut off these pieces if it really concerns you, to make it more of a actual fish shape, like so. I like the way this one turned out. Never had a gill before, even though it's a little bit misplaced. I don't know, you tell me. This will be my afternoon snack with some kamairicha. Which, if you're interested, make sure to check out the link in the description for the tea in my All Day I Eat Like a Shark shop. Organic Japanese tea from Japan. All right, so these are more or less done. And there's the other one. So 2 big fish, slightly green, and a couple smaller fish for a little taiyaki snack, or a small thing to eat at a matsuri. All right, so let me know what you think. If you have any questions or comments, leave them below. If you enjoyed this video, give me a thumbs up. Subscribe if you want to see more Japanese cooking videos like this. Make sure to check out the Matsuri theme playlist. That'll also be linked in the description below for all the other Matsuri foods that we are enjoying together. So see you guys next time. If only we were at a real Matsuri in Japan, but since we're not, we can just pretend. And maybe if you close your eyes, you can imagine yourself there eating this. じゃあね。バイバイ。